It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Friday morning on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. So good to be in your company, talking about the latest news from the world of tech. Some of us might be dreading it, some of us might be liking it, and others might just love this change. But earlier on this week, hundreds of thousands of Instagram users around the world reported that like counters had disappeared from their posts.
What?
Why? What happened? Well, here to unpack it all and explain to us what Instagram is doing, what these brands are doing, what it means for influencers and users in general out there is, of course, our resident tech expert, Brian Smith. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks very much. It's great to be back.
I like you, buddy. I like
Plus
you,
one.
So my big question is, how will I validate my existence if I cannot see how many likes I'm getting?
Well, if you listen really, really closely, you can hear 100 influencers screaming right now.
Just fine.
Wait. Brian, I've never known you to be a shady character. That was such forestry kind of shade.
Did you see how the shade from our delicious monster just grew? That was really funny, dude. And no, look, we feel your pain. We feel your pain because we kind of exist sort of in the
that world
space.
as well.
Yeah, that's very much our space.
That's why I was bleeding.
So what has actually happened here? What's the rationale? What's going on?
So it's actually really, really interesting in that over the past couple of days, you might have seen two conflicting stories. So as you mentioned, a number of Instagram users in the hundreds of thousands all around the world have reported that their like counters from their social media posts, Instagram posts, have disappeared.
Yeah.
Now, Instagram has quite publicly announced that they're actually trialing removing these counters. However, in the last week, they've actually said that sort of this mass removal of counters was due to a bug and was actually due to a feature that inadvertently shipped early, was still in testing. What the broader implication is that Instagram is actually testing the removal of these counters. They might not be in the app at present, but at the moment they might not be going anywhere for the short term in the near future.
But the question is, why would Instagram want to do this when the platform was kind of like envisaged with that in mind? You would see a post, and if you like it, you double tap, and the little heart would go red. And
or you're trying to scroll down and you double tap it by mistake, and you realize you like
double
it.
tap, but then you can't undouble tap it.
Then you feel guilty for the rest of the day because you've unliked someone's hard-earned photo.
Absolutely. It really speaks, I think, to your point of where Instagram started and where it's ended up, and that the like feature, sort of in broad academia as well as on social media, has become a tool for validation.
Yeah.
And essentially that leads to what we can call the achievement reward paradox, wherein one posts a photo and they receive attention. Chemically in your brain, you receive a hit of dopamine. That's essentially the chemical that will trigger when precisely when you're being rewarded for a certain action. And it's been sort of revealed through studies that this is incredibly harmful not only to teens and young people using social media services, but across the board. Now, essentially the move to pivot away from this is essentially a move towards better mental health, towards a better experience on the app, and it might actually be a better change that we can experience the app without sort of needing to validate ourselves with our photos.
I love it then. I'm all for it. But I mean, just because they're changing it doesn't mean it needs to lose its effect from an influencer perspective. It could almost become better because ultimately we like the likes because it gives us kind of market research to be able to give to the people that are paying to get represented through your post. So how do you see this evolving in terms of what the influencer can get out of? Is it going to hurt them in the long run, or could this be something that could positively influence the influencers?
I think it'll be actually really positive, not just for influencers, but for everyone on the app. And principally why I say that is it's going to potentially be a move away from achievement to discoverability. If you consider on Instagram app, and here's an interesting study all the way from UCLA, a university all the way in the United States, is that teenagers on Instagram or any social media app actually are 60% more likely to engage with a post when one of their friends has already engaged with it. So the emphasis here is that Instagram may stop publicly counting the number of likes on a post, but what might happen is that you may be more likely in future to see content that your followees have already engaged with on the app. So it'll become a case of more showing more content at the expense of removing some of that achievement paradox that you might see by simply counting likes.
You can still leave a nice comment.
Absolutely.
Just say, I really like
and I'm
your,
sure at the back end of it, as the actual owner of the platform, you'll still be able to provide that feedback to the stakeholders who've invested in a specific platform with insights, for instance, that'll give you the level of engagement and all that kind of stuff. It's just that you won't see, or nobody's going to see that that picture has been liked either 10 times or 1,000
And
times.
it's
That's
just
not gonna
like if
matter.
you consider the way videos show on Instagram at the moment, is that Instagram actually removed like counters from videos some time ago. So if you're
Oh
a
yeah,
general
because it's
user,
just views.
Yeah.
It just shows you how many views.
I take them all as likes, the views. I'm like, no, it's 1 million likes. Yeah, no, I dig it.
Yeah.
so the way you
sure.
consider it is that if you post the video, you can see the number of likes the video has received, but as a general viewer, so i.e. if you didn't post that content, you can only see the number of plays.
Of views.
And it's a very small micro test of what this change could ultimately mean.
Wow.
That's good.
Okay.
I love it. Taking out a
Cool.
potentially very damaging, seems innocuous, but when you look at it from that perspective, it can be very, even
Absolutely.
for grown-ups who should have a fully developed kind of sense of self. It can be damaging not to get likes or to see those kind of responses. So that's awesome. I'm all for it. Cool, man.
Brian, thanks a lot, man.
Thanks
Much
very much.
appreciated. Let us know your thoughts on our social media platforms, of course, about what you think about this new
Especially if you're an
development that
influencer.
Instagram is